for the first time, Utah had an A grade. Utah has become the tip of the spear, not just in the nation, but around the world in fighting human trafficking. Thanks to the visionary leadership of Tim Ballard, Operation Underground Railroad, and many other partners in the fight. Before Tim Ballard and OUR and friends like IJM, International Justice Mission, kids around the world, many of them had lost hope. They had stopped praying. They felt no one was looking for them anymore. Well, now because of OUR, kids around the world have hope. OUR is bringing hope and light and love, and it's because of supporters like you that they are able to do that. And kids now have hope that their prayers will be answered. One more round of applause for Tim Ballard and Operation. And this is the last thing I'm going to say that Tim won't tell you. Before Operation Underground Railroad, traffickers abducted children, exploited children for sex, for pornography, with impunity. They did it with no fear of retribution because there was no heat. There weren't agencies going after them. There weren't nonprofits. And so they could do that and make so much money and not have to worry. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, because of Operation Underground Railroad, the name Tim Ballard is feared by traffickers all around the world. Your help and support, however you may be able to do that, that OUR will stop at nothing to track them down, hunt them down, and bring them to justice so we can bring children their innocence back and give them their lives back. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the real Captain America here in Utah, in the United States, my dear friend, and the founder of Operation Underground Railroad, Mr. Timothy Ballard.
Wow, Sean goes way, way, way too far. Wow, there's more people than I thought. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Jen Bloss is going to sing a song later that I just, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. It talks about sending out an army to find these kids. And that's why I asked her to sing this song, because my emotions, you are the army. This doesn't end unless everybody gets loud. We've been saying it for years, and St. George has always been one of our biggest bases. And you are the army, and I just look here and I'm just so encouraged because if this many people in St. George will stand up, then it's just a matter of time before others follow suit. And we get so loud that this ends, that we rock the foundations of governments everywhere until they're doing everything they can do. So thank you, and I thank God as well. I've never done this like this before, but as I was flying in, and by the way, an amazing donor, or someone donated this. We would never use donor dollars for this, so please, to the haters who are out there, and I know you're a couple of you out there, I don't know why you exist, but we're saving kids from trafficking, okay? But anyway, this was a totally private donation to us. Today is, as we're coming in, I learned that in 1956, on this day, July 30th, Dwight D. Eisenhower signed into law a bill that required "In God We Trust" to be put on paper dollar bills. Before that, it was on coins during the Civil War. They started that. But I just don't think it's a coincidence that that's this day. God, we know how God feels about children. There's only one time in the scriptures, in fact, where God gets even kind of mafioso, kind of violent. It's righteous because it's him. But think about it. We take for granted what he says. It's better that a millstone be hung around your neck than that you would offend one of these little ones. So righteous indignation is a real thing. We know how God feels about this. And I feel God in all of you right now. And in light of the fact that we're celebrating also an anniversary of In God We Trust, something we have to fight for in this country to make sure that maintains, that continues to be our motto. But in light of that, and I've never done this before, can I say a prayer?
Yes! Woo!
Dear Father, your children gather here in this beautiful town. This town so full of light, a light that wants so badly to reach the darkest places of the earth, Father, and touch those children who are suffering, who are yearning for liberty. We ask you, Father, to bless those children, be with them in their loneliness. Send your angels, comfort them, and help them to know that help is on the way. That there are people in St. George and everywhere in this world that will stand up for them and send that light. Bless law enforcement, Father, those who are the real heroes, who we just want to support and uphold. Bless them. Guide them to those in need. Bless them with the courage they need to go into the darkest places on the planet where children currently have no hope. Bless them. And Father, please bless all the people here who have come out to stand in place of those children, to be their voice where they have no voice. We are thankful for them and bless them that they will continue this fight. They will continue to be loud. They will continue to stand and be heard and build this swell, this momentum, this giant tsunami of righteousness that will liberate the captive and bless all of your children. These things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I wasn't planning on doing that, but thank you for letting me. I feel very comfortable here in St. George. I can do whatever. I love you guys. I want to tell you a story. We rely so much on prayer. I just got getting so emotional. You guys are killing me. We have the guys right now on the ground, believe it or not, operating. And they just sent me a note at midnight last night. They're in this. I can't give details. You'll hear about it soon. But literally in the next 48 hours, there's going to be a big hit somewhere. And on the way out last night, they were in one of these places. You can call it a brothel, but it's something worse than that. And they're pretending to be clients. That's how they get in. You know that. That's how we operate. Working with law enforcement. But these kids, I'm telling you, they are surrounded by angels. The closer we get, we feel that. The closer we get to the kids, we feel light. People have asked me how I deal with the darkness, and I couldn't answer the question for so long because I didn't want to tell them the truth, which was, how can I feel light when I'm with these dark people? Until I started realizing, I know what I'm feeling. The closer I get to the kids, I've got to get through the bad guys. So as I'm sitting with the bad guys, and they're the last door between us and the children, I'm feeling their light. They're just barely, they're just almost there. And that's the light that these kids have, and they feel it. And even though our guys are pretending to be bad guys, trolling around in this place and making a deal, one of these children walked up to my operator. I just broke down. I just saw this. And handed him a note. And he walked out, put it in his pocket, like, what's this? I mean, she should think I'm a bad guy right now. He walked out, he opened it up, and just broke down. It just said, help us, please.
Oh.
And I just want him to march right back in and say, just give us 24 hours. We're setting it up. But this is why we pray. Because light attracts light, and your light, you give it to our operators and to law enforcement. And we take that light and it connects to the light of those kids, and that's how it happens. It's all God's work. There was an operation we were working on once where we were looking for, it was in Haiti, and we were looking for one of the top traffickers in the country. And we had to make a decision because she was horrific and terrorizing children. And we had to make a decision, do we get her? She surfaced, but we don't know where her kids are yet. She has her kids hidden. She goes in these rat holes and she pops up. And we had eyes on her. Do we get her? Or do we wait and do more surveillance and then maybe lose her, but we don't have the kids? So I had to make the decision. And I said, here's what we're gonna get her, and we're gonna pray the whole way there. That when we get her, we will find the kids. And so I literally sent out, who's on our prayer roll? A lot of you are. If you're not, get on it. Go to OURrescue.org and sign up. Because every now and then you'll get a text, drop to your knees right now. And this is one of those moments.
So cool.
And thousands of people were praying literally while we're driving. We don't give details, but just to say, in the next 5 minutes, we need everyone's prayers right now. So we're driving up. We're 3 minutes from hitting this target location where this woman and her trafficking minions are. And she's buying and selling kids right there on the street, but we can't see where the kids are. But as we're driving up, we're praying, just praying, all of us. And then my videographer, who's getting the evidence, jumps back. His name's Jacob Justice, an amazing guy, if you know Jacob Justice. He goes jumping back, and he takes out some duct tape, and he starts to wrap this little GoPro camera around the helmet of one of the Haitian SWAT guys, who's facing backwards because there's a back hatch. He's going to jump out. And I'm like, Jacob, what are you doing? We don't have time. He's like, I don't know why, Tim, but this guy needs to have a camera stapled to his helmet. I'm like, that's bizarre. I'm like, I know, but I just feel like, okay, whatever, do your thing. So we get out, the van's open, we run out, and there's like 15 SWAT guys. We're just consulting. We're not law enforcement. We just consult, okay? So the law enforcement goes and does their job, and they arrest everybody. We arrest this woman and a couple other people, and then we're like, now what? What's going on? Where are the kids? Like, God, help us now. Where are the kids? We're looking everywhere. Then I look across the street, and this door, it's this little street in just a hellhole of a place. And across the street, this red steel door opens up. It's the most unassuming door. You'd think it's a janitor's closet or something in the middle of this little road. Like, it's nothing. It opens up, and out walk 3 children who are dressed to be sold. And the shattered look on their face. And then I can't see very well. We start running up there, the lights, it's dark with the headlights of the vehicles. And we gotta move because Haiti's dangerous and we don't know who's got counter surveillance on us. And then walks out this cop, this law enforcement officer who's working with us, and he's just saying out loud, I lost them. I said, what do you mean you lost them? He said, the bad guys. And he's like, what did you just see? What happened? And he starts explaining. He's like, they were here and they ran away, the abusers of these kids. And then I hear a voice behind me, Jacob Justice. We didn't lose them. What are you talking about? And he walks up, and my eyes start to focus and see what I wasn't seeing before. And he reaches up and he pulls the camera off the helmet. That was the cop who went in to the red door. Now what happened when the car hit its location, everybody did what they're supposed to do. The guys in the back jumped out, turned hard left, and made the arrest. This guy that had the camera 3 minutes earlier attached to his head, for some reason went right. And he won't even tell you exactly why. And he went right and he saw that red door and he saw something run in. He thought it was a child. And he went on his own. He should have called for backup, but we're training a lot of people and he must have missed that day when we trained him. And he went by himself into this red door. And only after I saw the footage did I realize why he came out so distraught. Because what he captured was a scene I had never seen in my 17 years captured. Not only the identities of all the predator clients that were in this place, but he actually caught in the act the abuse of a child. In the act, going in there. Things we could never even attempt to show you. It's sitting in an evidence locker. But that piece of evidence will put that trafficking organization away forever.
Yes. Woo!
And it will be a testimony for those children for all eternity about what happened and who these evildoers were. got into our aftercare, and if you know our director of aftercare, Jessica Mass, is an amazing individual who lives on an airplane. Our aftercare program is the most important thing we do. There is no rescue if there's no rehabilitation. We partner with the best organizations throughout the world, and we stay with these kids forever. The operation that Sean mentioned in Colombia, those kids are now becoming adults, and we're staying with them. We're getting them scholarships. We're sending them to college. We never let our
Yes.
This little girl, one of the youngest of the three, and all these kids, by the way, two of them at least, had infant babies because of the lives they were living, and they were being used as leverage. The traffickers like when they get pregnant, they take their babies and say, do you want to see your baby? You're going to keep doing what I say. And within 24 hours, we had recovered all those babies. And they're with their moms. But this youngest child, we'll call her Rosie. We got into our aftercare home, and Jessica's with her, and they haven't talked. They haven't opened their mouth. And 24 hours later, they still haven't talked. And her first words were, "Is this real? Am I allowed to have hope?" And Jessica said, "This is real. This is over. It's done." And she said, again, to recognize the hand of God in this, which we already had, but he was about to manifest again, because she said, "Do you realize what the date is today?" And she looked on her phone and she said, "Yeah, it's January 10th. She said, "It was 8 years ago this day, that woman kidnapped me. This is the anniversary of my kidnapping, and now it's the anniversary of my liberation." And the reason she was so she couldn't talk and couldn't believe it was because why would she? I mean, think about it. She knew that she lived in one of the most obscure countries in the world, where there's very little law enforcement activity, very under-resourced, and she's in that country. And not only is she in that country, but she's in the darkest corner of that country, behind a red steel door. Who is going to open that door other than bad guys? Who's going to go ever and liberate her? There was no hope for her, and she had no hope. But this is what I mean. Our promise is real, that we will take your light, and we are committed to finding those dark places. We will go to the darkest place on the planet. We'll find every red door, and they exist in this country too. About half of our operations are here in this country. And we will go there, and we will give law enforcement what they need so they can go there. And by the way, you have an exceptional leadership in this, from your police chief to your mayor. I don't want to out my operators, but our best operators who are overseas, and maybe this is why I'm emotional in St. George, but our best operators are from St. George PD. You guys are in really good hands, and this isn't a place we were trying to wake up, by the way. We're in 150 countries or cities right now. Do you know that? In 150 cities, people are doing this, and I could have gone to any of them. I could fly. If someone's offered me, I can use the hell. I can go anywhere. And I said, I'm going to St. George. That's right. And the reason is because we're not trying to wake you up. You're our army. Again, when you hear Jen sing, "I will send out an army to find you," just know, I am thinking about you. You are that army. Not only do you have, literally our operators are here protecting you when they're not overseas rescuing children, but you are the light that fills us. And I'm not just talking about donations. It's beyond that. It's your prayers. it's your advocacy, it's your awareness, it's your tweets, it's getting loud. You are our base, you are our army, so thank you so much. And one more thing I want to say before Jen comes up. Another reason St. George is special to me. Back to little Rosie. Rosie was kidnapped 8 years before that liberation in the wake of the great earthquake that hit Haiti. And there was about 500,000 children made orphaned overnight when that earthquake hit. And they were wandering the streets aimlessly. And she was one of those. Her parents died in the earthquake. And that's when the trafficker that we just arrested preyed upon her and said, I'll take care of you, little girl. She was only 6 years old. I'll take care of you. And then forced her into a life of sex slavery. That same earthquake produced two other little orphans, a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, who a decent person, an elderly woman picked out of the crowd, realized their parents were dead because they were outside this home that just crashed down and everyone's dead in the house, but these two little kids that were playing outside and somehow lived. And this woman took them to the nearby orphanage. Because it's an orphanage on the wall, and what else can I do? I'm desperate. So she takes them to the orphanage, and there's a nice woman there. Come in, we'll take care of you. It was a front. It was a trafficking front. That's what traffickers do in the wake of tragedy. They throw over a sign over the wall that says, orphanage here. And people just bring kids, and then they sell those kids. One of the kids that was in that orphanage, now follow their story because it connects back to St. George. One of the kids that was in that false orphanage at the time, even before the earthquake hit, had been kidnapped from an LDS church in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, a few weeks before the earthquake. He was in that trafficking. Those traffickers already got him. Yes, this is Gardy Marty. If you know Gardy, you know that name. So, Gardy is a little boy who we were looking for. And he, in many ways, in some ways, started Operation Underground Railroad because I was working his case as a U.S. agent. I thought I could make it a U.S. case. Why? Because he was born in the United States. And not only in the United States, he was born about 3 miles from where we're all standing, right here in St. George. And we're actually, I don't know where we are, but we're going to be, there's one of our supporters, James Rose, Lindy Rose, I don't know if you guys are here. Yell if you're here. Okay. But they own a lot of this property, and we're actually going to be there. You know the old sheriff office? Like from the 19th century, there's an old sheriff office around here somewhere, and there's a little jail. So we're going to be turning that into an OUR museum. James and Lindy Rose donated that to us to be able to do that, and we're going to build a statue of Gardy there. The statue's already been, designed, the miniature already done, and it shows Gardy in a suit, in a perfectly custom kind of suit, and he's pointing over here and he's beckoning all of us, come. Because that's what ended up happening. We went looking for this little boy. We haven't found him yet. But we went looking for him. And when the government told me it was outside of the jurisdiction of the United States, that's when we had to quit. There was 2 cases. One was the Colombia case Sean talked about, and the other one was Haiti, that I was working as an agent, and the only way to continue working was to quit, because it was outside the jurisdiction of the United States. So we went looking for Gardy, and I picture that statue of him beckoning, and he's pointing this way, because he led us to that place. The evidence led us there. By the time we got there, he'd already gone. He'd already been sold. But we ended up rescuing 28 children. And from that place, doing an undercover sting operation. And you can watch this. Probably there's a documentary about this called Operation Two Saint. Who's seen that? I can't believe how many people have seen it. Okay, go watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. So we go in there, and those 2 little babies I just told you about. You might know this story, but we end up rescuing those 28 kids. I attached myself to those 2 little kids, and we ended up adopting them, and now they're home. They're Utahns, and they're our children. So there's so much that connects back to St. George once again. It's just a special place for me personally. And when I picture Gardy, who was born in St. George, doing that beckoning, we have rescued over 500 kids in Haiti looking for him already. And then beyond that, we've rescued over 4,000 domestically, but all because of this little boy. I mean, I really feel like he is kind of our guiding star, and we will find him one day. His father knows it. He tells me all the time. I was with his father yesterday, and he says, we're going to find him. And when he is, he's going to stand right here on a stage, as Dad said. And people will listen to him. So this is the kind of operations we do. I just gave you a little summary, but this is what we're doing all the time, every day in 26 countries. And this year is such a great year to get loud for the kids. 2020. Why? Because 2020 has been a tough year for kids. It's been a very tough year. And we've learned a lot about our society this year, about our country. Not good things, about how we treat kids as a people, as policymakers. 2020 starts with the COVID shutdowns. And I'm not going to debate that other than to say my job is to help kids. Yeah. And when the infrastructure all shut down, we knew it was going to happen. The FBI warned the nation on March 23rd what was going to happen, but no one seemed to care. Infrastructure like schools and after-school programs keep kids safe. It keeps kids safe. This is why in developing countries, like Haiti, for example, why is trafficking so high? Because they're not blessed with that infrastructure. We're blessed with this amazing infrastructure. It keeps our kids safe. Instead, we decided to shut everything down. We put the kids in the corner of the house and said, take your laptop, take your smartphone, stay here, you can't leave. Me and Mom have to go find food and save our jobs because everything's shutting down. And the pedophiles are also jobless, and they're also on their laptops and their smartphones. And we can track the dark net. That's what we do. We have labs throughout the world. With law enforcement, and they're saying it's harvest time. That's what the pedophiles are saying. It's harvest time. And we saw the results. There's been at least 6 million additional reports of child sex abuse originating online in 2020 because we failed our kids as a society, as a nation, through our policies, through not taking extra steps, or at least weighing in this into the equation. And even now, it kills me as I'm looking at the debates around the nation. Debate it, decide whatever you want about opening schools, whatever, but you're still not even considering the kids. Yeah. You're still not even talking about. You're still not even talking about the 6 million additional cases that will it'll be beyond that. I mean, those are the reported ones. Yeah. Just in Salt Lake a few weeks ago, there was a guy who. His name's Danny Hardman, 42 years old, pedophile. He's gaming online with 2 6-year-old girls from Indiana. Parents didn't know. They're scavenging for their jobs and for food, and they think their kids are playing a game against the computer because when they were kids, it was Atari and it was called Pong or whatever, right? we played the computer, right? They didn't realize their kid's not playing the computer, they're playing someone else. And that someone else is a 42-year-old pedophile who had already convinced those little girls to send naked pictures of them to him. He was making a child porn collection out of these 2 little 6-year-old girls who didn't know what they were doing. Luckily, Sean and the Attorney General's office intervened and arrested the guy, caught him before he went too far. But you can multiply that scenario by 6 million or more right now, and we're still not talking about it. Until today, we're not talking about it. And so this is why we need to get loud, to make sure that our local leaders are not going to do this. And then one crisis leads to the next, and we're talking about transforming different things, and absolutely, I mean, you all agree what we saw happen to George Floyd was horrific and illegal, and can improvements be made? Absolutely. But what are those improvements? We're transitioning things, and they start calling for defund the police. And I didn't know what that meant at first. It didn't resonate as something positive. I don't know what that means. But then the more I looked at certain city councils, and I'm talking to law enforcement, like, hey, if our city council gets their way, our child crimes program is gone. It's gone. Why? Because if you want to help kids get out of hell, it's a proactive investigation. Does that make sense? The cases that land on their desk, the reactive cases that land on law enforcement desk, that they have to respond to. They have to. The homicides, the bank robberies, the assaults, things that are happening in plain sight, everyone's seeing it. You have to respond to that. It takes additional resources, additional manpower, additional technology. to go after the kid, because those kid cases, the child crimes cases, they don't generally fall on your desk. You've got to go out and get them. You've got to be creative. You've got to do sting operations. And so what's the first to be cut from a budget? Proactive investigations, which is why developing countries have very few proactive detectives. So do you see this fear here? We're already struggling to get resources to law enforcement throughout the United States and the world. And now, is this going to be harder? I don't know. Decisions haven't been made, but this is why we have to be loud. Transition, improve things as you need to, absolutely. Everything can be improved. Things have happened that shouldn't happen, and we need to improve that. But again, all we're asking for is, we've already failed the kids once with the shutdown thing and forgetting about them at the table. Let's bring them to the table. Just make them part of the conversation. That's all we're asking for. There's certain tools that, in 150 cities right now, there's tools that we are crying for. That making sure that local governments have access to. Things like mobile labs that allow them to process evidence immediately when they do a search warrant on a child pornographer's home. So you can arrest the guy immediately and not wait for 6 months while the computers are being analyzed in the lab. So that's one thing. Tonight you're going to watch a live presentation. If you go to at OUR Rescue, YouTube or Facebook, watch our live presentation. We have Julianne and Derek Huff presenting. We have Lindsay Sterling performing. We have all sorts of cool things to talk about, what we need to do to improve. One of the coolest parts is our digital canine dogs. We have these, you've heard of sniffing dogs, drug sniffing dogs, bomb sniffing dogs. What we're doing is we're training canine units that can sniff out digital media. Why? So that when our law enforcement officers bravely go into these homes of these pedophiles are getting smarter and they're hiding their digital media on little tiny thumb drives, little drives that are so small you can't even find them. You can hide them in the carpet, you can hide them in a false compartment in a book, or a human can't find it. And the problem is oftentimes that's the only evidence that will lead to the rescue of that child. And law enforcement needs to find it. Well, you're gonna be introduced to one of our canine units named Spike, this beautiful animal who has rescued dozens of kids, put away more pedophiles because he can sniff out the evidence. Every single unit needs to have access to it. These are the things that we are wanting to make sure that our law enforcement has everything that they need to have. And so it's amazing to know that literally tens of thousands of people right now are rising up and making sure that their local communities have what they need to have. And you'll be, in just a few weeks, we're doing a big thing with the St. George Police Department. I mean, they are killing it. These guys are proactive. I know what they're doing. They're proactive in your community. And we're actually doing some fundraising so they can get everything that they need and dreamed of. Just next month, in a couple weeks, we're going to be doing something here. And you guys are in such good hands. No, seriously, God bless St. George PD, Mayor Pike. If I didn't have 9 kids that were involved in so many things, I tell my wife, let's go. When are we going to go back? When are we going to St. George? I hope to somehow eventually be here. But anyway, I think I've probably talked too much. I just want to end again by thanking you. Thanking you for being the light, for standing strong for these kids, and don't give up. Keep yelling, keep getting loud, be that voice. Oftentimes people feel helpless, like, what can I do? I don't know what I can do to, I'm not skilled this way, I'm not skilled that way. Just being a voice is so powerful. When we got rid of the legalized form of slavery in this country, because we recognize we rescued 4,000, but there's millions out there. We cannot extract millions of kids. We don't have, I wish we could. But with everybody, we can end it. And we learned that in the 19th century when the abolitionist movement rose up and the Underground Railroad existed and they were extracting like we are, as they could, but it was really statistically, it wasn't going to eradicate it. And it wasn't even that Abraham Lincoln raised his hand one day and said, today's the day I'm going to end this. And I love him, and he did the right thing when given the opportunity. But what happened actually in the 19th century was people got loud. People held rallies like this. And they got loud, and they got so loud. In fact, when Abraham Lincoln met Harriet Beecher Stowe, one of the great voices that wrote the book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, which did so much to shine a light in the evils of slavery, when Abraham Lincoln met her, he said, "So you're the lady that wrote the book that started this war." Even he recognized that it wasn't the government. It wasn't him. It starts with the people. And that's what we're doing right now. I've never seen anything like this. But we are getting loud, finally. We're going to get so loud that every government official in the world is going to look back and say, "So you're the people that held the rally, that told the story." So thank you. You are the army that Jen is going to sing about right now. I love you, St. George. God bless all of you. Thank you so much.